Listenscape. Press play, listen, and escape.
The Lost Forest. Jackie's sneakers crunched softly against the carpet of fallen leaves as she picked her way along the familiar shortcut home. The narrow dirt path wound through what everyone in Maplewood Heights called Caveman Forest. A small patch of woodland wedged between two housing developments, complete with towering oaks and a cluster of weathered granite boulders that looked like sleeping giants. She adjusted her yellow backpack and glanced at her phone. 3:47 p.m. Perfect. If she kept up this pace, she'd beat her mom home from work and could grab a snack before starting her dreaded math homework. The October air carried the crisp promise of Halloween, still 2 weeks away, and Jackie found herself already planning her costume as she navigated around a fallen branch. The largest boulder loomed ahead, a massive grey sentinel that had probably sat in this exact spot for thousands of years. Jackie had always been fascinated by it, especially the cave-like opening that gaped like a stone mouth on its eastern face. She'd explored it countless times over the years, crawling inside with a flashlight to discover it extended only about 6 feet before the ceiling dropped too low to continue. Her parents had warned her about playing in caves, but this hardly counted as one. Today, something was different. Jackie slowed her steps as she approached the boulder. The entrance, usually empty except for the occasional spiderweb or scatter of autumn leaves, had been disturbed. The leaves that typically collected just inside the opening were pushed aside, forming a rough circle in the dirt. More puzzling still, she could see what looked like scratch marks gouged into the softer earth near the cave mouth. Her heart rate quickened, not from fear, but from curiosity. Jackie had always been the type of kid who investigated strange noises rather than running from them, much to her parents' frequent exasperation. She dropped her backpack and pulled out her phone, turning on the flashlight feature as she crept closer to the cave. The beam of light revealed more scratch marks, definitely fresh, carved into the sandy soil. They were unlike anything she'd seen before. Too large for a cat, too uniform for a dog. Each mark was roughly 4 inches long, with 3 distinct grooves that suggested claws. Jackie's mind raced through possibilities. Raccoon, opossum, maybe even a stray dog seeking shelter. She was about to peer deeper into the cave when a sound made her freeze. It was soft, almost like a sigh, but with a distinctly reptilian quality that raised goosebumps along her arms. The sound came again, followed by what could only be described as a contented rumble. Jackie's logical mind told her to back away, to grab her backpack and continue home. But her curiosity proved stronger. She held her phone higher, angling the light deeper into the cave, and nearly dropped the device in shock. 2 golden eyes stared back at her from the shadows. The creature was about the size of a large dog, but that's where any resemblance to familiar animals ended. Its skin was a vibrant forest green, marked with darker green stripes that seemed to reflect in the phone's LED glow. The head was unmistakably reptilian, with an elongated snout filled with small, sharp teeth that gleamed white against its dark mouth. But it was the eyes that captivated Jackie, intelligent, curious, and surprisingly gentle. For a long moment, girl and creature regarded each other cautiously. Jackie's mind struggled to process what she was seeing. The proportions, the colouring, the distinctive shape of the head. It looked exactly like the dinosaur illustrations in her favourite paleontology books. specifically the Tyrannosaurus rex in her Dinosaurs of North America guide, which was, of course, impossible. The creature tilted its head, much like a curious puppy, and made that soft rumbling sound again. It showed no signs of aggression, no indication that it viewed Jackie as either threat or prey. If anything, it seemed as fascinated by her as she was by it. "Hey there," Jackie whispered, her voice barely audible. "What are you?" The creature's tail, which had been still, began to twitch with what looked suspiciously like excitement. It took a small step forward, then stopped, as if gauging Jackie's reaction. Jackie's phone buzzed with a text message, startling them both. The creature retreated slightly while Jackie glanced at the screen. Her mom. "Working late tonight. Leftover pizza in the fridge. Love you." When she looked back up, the creature had moved closer to the cave entrance. In the better light, Jackie could see more details that confirmed her impossible suspicion. The powerful hind legs, the smaller but clawed front limbs, the distinctive ridge above each eye. Every feature matched the scientific reconstructions she'd memorized from countless hours of reading about prehistoric life. "You're a baby T-Rex," she breathed, the words sounding absurd even as she spoke them. "But that's not possible." The creature, Rex, her mind had already begun calling it, made that rumbling sound again and took another tentative step forward. Jackie remained perfectly still, afraid that any sudden movement might spook it. Rex was now close enough that she could see the rise and fall of its chest, could hear the soft whistle of its breathing. Very slowly, Jackie extended her hand, palm up, the way she'd been taught to approach unfamiliar dogs. Rex stretched its neck forward, sniffing delicately at her fingers with nostrils that flared with each breath. Its breath was warm and surprisingly sweet, not the carnivorous reek she might have expected. The moment Rex's snout touched her palm, Jackie felt a connection she couldn't explain. This creature, impossible as it was, seemed to recognize something in her. A kindred spirit, perhaps, or simply someone who wasn't afraid. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that it was 4:15. Jackie realized she'd been crouched beside the cave for nearly half an hour. "I have to go," she whispered to Rex, who had settled into a comfortable crouch just inside the cave entrance. "But I'll come back tomorrow, okay? I'll bring you something to eat." Rex tilted its head again, and Jackie could have sworn she saw understanding in those golden eyes. She gathered her backpack and backed away slowly, not wanting to make any sudden movements. Rex watched her go, making soft, rumbling sounds that seemed almost like a farewell. As Jackie hurried home along the remaining stretch of path, her mind raced with questions and possibilities. Where had Rex come from? How was it even alive? And most importantly, what was she going to do about it? One thing was certain. She couldn't tell anyone. Not yet. Adults would want to call animal control or scientists or worse. Rex seemed so peaceful, so trusting. The last thing Jackie wanted was for her new friend to end up in a laboratory or zoo. By the time she reached her front door, Jackie had made her decision. Tomorrow, she would return with food and begin trying to solve the mystery of Rex's existence. Whatever was happening in that little cave, she was determined to protect it. The next morning, Jackie woke before her alarm, her mind immediately jumping to Rex. She barely slept, alternating between excitement and doubt. Had yesterday really happened, Or had her overactive imagination finally gotten the better of her? The rational part of her brain insisted that she'd probably seen a large iguana or escaped exotic pet, and her dinosaur obsession had filled in the impossible details. But deep down, she knew what she'd seen was real. Jackie raided the kitchen with the stealth of a practiced teenager, stuffing her backpack with anything that seemed remotely carnivore appropriate. Raw chicken from the package her mom had been planning to cook for dinner went into a plastic container, along with some leftover hamburger and, on impulse, a hard-boiled egg from the refrigerator. She had no idea what a juvenile T-Rex would actually eat, but figured protein was a safe bet. School dragged by with agonizing slowness. Jackie found herself staring out windows, doodling dinosaurs in her notebook margins, and completely ignoring Mr. Peterson's explanation of the Revolutionary War. Her best friend Maya noticed her distraction during lunch. "Earth to Jackie," Maya said, waving a French fry in front of Jackie's face. "You're being extra weird today, even for you. What's going on?" Jackie hesitated. Maya was her closest friend, the one person who never made fun of her dinosaur obsession or called her a nerd for preferring paleontology documentaries to social media. If anyone would believe her story, it would be Maya. "What if I told you I found something incredible yesterday?" Jackie said carefully. "Something that would change everything we know about science." Maya raised an eyebrow. "I'd say you've been watching too much Discovery Channel again, but I'm listening." Jackie glanced around the cafeteria, making sure no one was close enough to overhear. "Come with me after school today, through the mini forest. I want to show you something." "Okay, now you're being mysterious and weird. I like it." Maya grinned. "Is this about that cave you're always exploring? Did you find buried treasure or something?" "Something like that," Jackie said, her stomach churning with nervous excitement. The final bell couldn't ring soon enough. Jackie practically vibrated with anticipation as she and Maya walked toward the forest path, their backpacks heavy with both homework and, in Jackie's case, Rex's dinner. "So, are you going to tell me what this big discovery is?" Maya asked as they entered the tree line. "You won't believe me if I tell you. You have to see it." They approached the boulder, and Jackie's heart sank. The cave entrance looked exactly as it always had. Empty, undisturbed, with no sign that anything unusual had ever taken shelter there. The scratch marks from yesterday were gone, smoothed over by the morning's light rain. "Jackie," Maya said gently, "there's nothing here." But Jackie was already kneeling by the cave entrance, pulling out her phone's flashlight. "Rex," she called softly. "Are you in there?" Maya shot her a look. "Rex? Who's Rex?" The golden eyes appeared first, reflecting the phone's light from deep within the cave. Then Rex stepped forward, cautious but recognizing Jackie's voice. Maya's gasp echoed off the boulder. That's not possible," Maya whispered, unconsciously taking a step backward. Rex tilted his head, studying the new human with curious eyes. He made that soft rumbling sound Jackie remembered from yesterday and took another step closer to the entrance. "Maya, meet Rex," Jackie said, trying to keep her voice calm and steady. "Rex, this is my friend Maya. She's okay." "Jackie, that's a dinosaur," Maya said, her voice barely audible. "That's an actual dinosaur." "I know." Jackie pulled out the container of chicken. "I brought you dinner, Rex." She opened the container and placed a piece of chicken just inside the cave entrance. Rex approached eagerly, sniffing the offering before snapping his mouth and teeth into the chicken and tearing into it with obvious relish. "This is insane," Maya breathed. But she was moving closer now, fascination overcoming fear. How is this possible? Where did he come from? "I don't know," Jackie admitted. "But he's friendly and he's scared and he needs help." Rex finished the chicken and looked hopefully at the container. Jackie laughed and gave him another piece, then the hamburger and the egg. Rex demolished everything with the enthusiasm of a growing teenager. "He's kind of cute," Maya said, now crouched beside Jackie. In a prehistoric, could probably eat us kind of way. "He's just a baby. Look at his size. He's probably only a few months old." They spent 20 minutes feeding Rex and watching him explore the area just outside the cave. He seemed particularly interested in Maya's bright blue backpack, sniffing it thoroughly before giving it an experimental nibble that left small tooth marks in the fabric. "My mom's going to kill me," Maya muttered, but she was smiling. "We have to keep this secret," Jackie said urgently. "Promise me, Maya. If adults find out, they'll take him away. They'll put him in a lab or a zoo or worse." "Are you kidding? Who would I tell? Nobody would believe me anyway." Maya paused. "But Jackie, we can't keep a dinosaur as a pet. This is way beyond feeding stray cats." A new sound interrupted their conversation. A deep, resonant call that seemed to come from somewhere beyond the forest. Rex's head snapped up, his entire body going rigid with attention. The sound came again, louder this time, and unmistakably the call of something much, much larger. Rex began making anxious, chittering sounds, pacing back and forth in front of the cave entrance. The call echoed through the trees a third time, and Jackie felt the blood drain from her face as she recognized what she was hearing. "That's not Rex," she whispered. The ground beneath their feet began to vibrate with heavy footsteps. Trees creaked and swayed, and somewhere in the distance, they could hear the crack of breaking branches. "Jackie," Maya said, her voice tight with fear. "What is that?" Rex suddenly bolted toward the cave entrance, but instead of hiding inside, he stood protectively in front of it, facing the direction of the approaching sounds. His posture had changed completely. No longer the curious, playful creature they'd been feeding, but something wild and alert. The footsteps were getting closer, much closer. "Into the cave," Jackie hissed, grabbing Maya's arm. "Now!" They scrambled into the small cave just as the forest erupted with the sound of splintering wood. Through the entrance, Jackie could see Rex backing toward them, his head low and his tail thrashing with agitation, and then she saw it. The adult Tyrannosaurus Rex stepped into the clearing like something out of a nightmare. It stood nearly 12 feet tall, its massive head swiveling as it searched the area. Its coloring was similar to Rex's, green with darker stripes. But where the juvenile was curious and gentle, this creature reeked of carrion and death. The mother had found her baby. "Oh God, oh God, oh God," Maya was whispering behind Jackie, pressed against the back wall of the cave. The adult T-Rex spotted Rex immediately and made a sound that was part greeting, part scolding. Rex responded with submissive chirping sounds, but he didn't move away from the cave entrance. Jackie realized, with a mixture of terror and gratitude, that he was still trying to protect them. The mother's attention shifted to the cave, and Jackie found herself staring into eyes that were intelligent, ancient, and absolutely deadly. The creature lowered her massive head, trying to peer into the cave entrance that was far too small for her to enter. Jackie's hand closed around the remaining food in her backpack. More chicken and a sandwich she'd packed for herself. Without thinking, she hurled the food as far as she could throw it, away from the cave and toward the edge of the clearing. The distraction worked. The adult T-Rex's head snapped toward the flying food, and she moved to investigate with ground-shaking steps. Rex immediately darted after his mother, chittering what sounded like explanations. "Run," Jackie whispered. "Now." She and Maya bolted from the cave and sprinted through the forest, crashing through underbrush and leaping over fallen logs with desperate speed. Behind them, they could hear the mother T-Rex massive size moving through the trees, but the sounds were growing more distant. They didn't stop running until they reached Maya's house, 3 blocks away from the forest. Only then did they collapse on the front porch, gasping and shaking. "That," Maya panted, "was the most terrifying and amazing thing that has ever happened to me." Jackie nodded, still too breathless to speak. Her mind was reeling with implications. If Rex had a mother, where had they both come from? And more importantly, were there others? That evening, Jackie sat at the dinner table, pushing her spaghetti around her plate, barely able to eat. Her parents noticed her distraction immediately. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" her mom asked, reaching over to feel Jackie's forehead. "You look pale." Jackie seized the opportunity. "Actually, I wanted to ask you something. Maya and I were walking through the forest today and we heard some really weird sounds, like big animal sounds. Roaring, maybe." Her father looked up from his tablet. "What kind of roaring?" "I don't know, just loud, really loud. And we saw some trees that looked like they'd been knocked over." Jackie tried to make her voice sound casual. "I was wondering if maybe there's a dangerous animal loose in the woods. Like an escaped alligator or something." Her parents exchanged glances. "Honey, we don't have alligators in Connecticut," her mom said gently. "Maybe it was construction equipment. They're building those new houses on the other side of the forest." It was after school hours, though, and it sounded alive. Her father set down his tablet, giving her his full attention. "Jackie, are you sure you heard something?" She nodded earnestly. "Well, I doubt there is anything dangerous out there. I mean, it's practically a miniature forest." "Tell you what," her dad said. "I'll call your uncle and ask them to send a patrol to check it out. If there's really something in those woods, they should know about it." "Could you do it tonight?" Jackie asked, trying not to sound too eager. "All right. Right after dinner." 2 hours later, Jackie watched from her bedroom window as a police cruiser pulled up to the forest entrance, their flashlights cutting through the darkness between the trees. She saw the officers walking the main path, heard them calling to each other, but after a half hour of searching, they found nothing. The next morning brought steady rain that continued all day, washing away any tracks or evidence that might have remained. By the time Jackie's father got the call back from the police, their report was predictably unhelpful. No signs of large animals or disturbance in the area, possibly construction noise from nearby development. Jackie thanked her parents for checking, but inside she felt a mixture of relief and disappointment. Relief that Rex was not discovered, but disappointment that she had no answers to the growing list of questions consuming her thoughts. The following day, Jackie found herself hesitating at the edge of the forest path. Maya had begged her to come with her instead, claiming homework. But Jackie suspected her friend was still processing their terrifying encounter. Jackie didn't blame her. She was having trouble processing it herself. But she needed to know if Rex was okay. Despite the danger his mother posed, Jackie felt responsible for the young dinosaur. What if he was hurt? What if they'd left the area entirely? She started down the familiar path, moving more slowly than usual. Every sound made her jump. The rustle of leaves, the crack of a twig, the distant call of a crow. By the time she reached the boulder, her nerves were stretched taut. The cave was empty. No Rex, no scratch marks, no sign that anything unusual had ever happened there. Jackie called softly, but received no response. She was about to turn and head home when she heard it. A soft footfall behind her. Jackie spun around, expecting to see Rex emerging from the underbrush. Instead, she saw nothing but empty forest. But the feeling of being watched was overwhelming, raising goosebumps along her arms, despite the mild afternoon weather. "Rex?" she called quietly. "Is that you?" Another sound, this time from her left, then from her right. Jackie's heart began to race as she realized she was hearing something very big trying to move stealthily through the forest. Something else was stalking her. Jackie backed toward the boulder, her eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. A branch snapped 20 feet to her right. Jackie ran. She abandoned the main path, crashing through the underbrush toward what she hoped was a little-used side trail that would lead her home by a different route. Jackie burst through a wall of ferns and suddenly found herself somewhere that definitely wasn't Maplewood Heights. The trees were gone. The familiar suburban sounds, distant traffic, lawnmowers, children playing, had vanished. Instead, she stood on the edge of a rocky cliff, overlooking a vast landscape unlike anything she'd ever seen. The sky was a different shade of blue, deeper and more intense than the Connecticut sky she knew. Strange, massive ferns carpeted the ground below, interspersed with trees that looked like enormous umbrellas. In the distance, she could see what appeared to be a herd of long-necked creatures moving slowly grazing, their heads swaying up and down the forest canopy like living construction cranes. Jackie's mind struggled to process what she was seeing. This wasn't just somewhere else, this was someone else. The plants, the light, even the air felt different, like a thick soup, humid and filled with unfamiliar scents. She was looking at the Cretaceous period. Somehow, impossibly, she had stepped through time itself. The wonder of the moment was overwhelming. Jackie had dreamed of seeing living dinosaurs her entire life, like any child. Now she stood on the threshold of that ancient realm, watching real pterosaurs soar overhead and hearing the distant calls of creatures that had been extinct for 66 million years. She was so captivated by the incredible vista spread out below her that she almost missed the stink of a foul breath somewhere, closing in. Abruptly, Jackie's dad grabbed her arm and pulled her away. "Dad!" Jackie sputtered out. Her father then pulled her away as he frantically looked around before saying, "Sweetie, how on earth did you find the portal? You were not supposed to come here. This changes everything." The end. Listenscape hopes you've enjoyed this narration of The Lost Forest. To stay tuned for many more stories like this, hit the like and subscribe button.